my guy on. Brennan, what's good, bro?
What's happening, everybody? Thank you for having me in. Appreciate it. Always a pleasure.
Oh yeah, man, no doubt. Always good having you here. I remember we did this. I don't know how long ago. It was a while back, but
About a year or two,
yeah,
I'd
yeah,
say.
yeah. We just chopping it up about Facebook ads. I know I personally booked a consultation with you to kind of get things set up and just some advice and questions answered. So appreciate you doing that.
Yeah,
Um,
man.
so yeah, so I guess let's man, like let's what's
Let's get
going
right
on?
into it, I guess, right?
Yeah, man. I guess let's start off just talking about yourself, man. What do you do? How long have you been doing it? And yeah, how'd you get into just the whole ad and marketing thing?
My name is Brennan Lunin. I am I guess my career title is new media specialist, but I specialize in Facebook advertising, Instagram advertising, and I'm kind of ventured into TikTok advertising as well because that platform is just a whole other beast. But my day job is basically managing advertising for a concert promotion company, a concert agency, I guess you would say, North American Entertainment Group. We do Mike Epps, Cat Williams, some more, pretty much anybody from the Friday movies like DC Curry. And we also got people from Wild and Out like DC Young Fly, Carlos Miller, Chico Bean. A lot of those guys, they go on our tours. We promote the tours, and my job personally is to make sure that I put butts in seats. So I basically run all the advertising, manage all the social, all the email marketing, and we do pretty well. Having a
That's
pretty
dope.
good tour so far.
Nice, nice. So I guess is there like a big difference between running ads for like a in-person event like a concert versus beats, digital products, music, things like that? Is there like a big difference, or is like some of the same principles kind of apply?
The only difference that is a really kind of major that really stands out is I have a time limit. Where a beat could sit and when it sells, it sells.
Hmm.
I have a show date. So the show date, it's whether you like it or not, it's going to come and go. And if I don't get all my ducks in a row, if I don't get everything ready, if all my email campaigns aren't running, if my ads aren't running, I don't get to ask for an extra week. I don't get the, it's just basically if it's June 3rd, it's June 3rd. And
Yeah,
I have to try to sell out that arena or sell out that theater, or sell out whatever we're playing in by that date. Now is the difference between that and, let's say, e-commerce, where a product could sit on a website indefinitely, evergreen. You could sell the same product over and over again. So if your campaign, that to venture right into ads, but like, for example, if you have a campaign running, let's say for tickets, you could only run it so long, but you could run an evergreen campaign for all your beats, all your merchandise, all your products that you have without really worrying too much about the deadline. Now, there's other things that come into play like ad fatigue, so you can't necessarily always do the same thing. But the main difference really is the time. I don't have all the time in the world to get done what I need to get done as much as I'd like to. I
yeah,
mean? That's the biggest difference. But um, also, I would say it's a matter of audience sizes as well. And I don't want to kind of put the horse in front, or put the cart in front of the horse, but it's also about how many people I can advertise to and what kind of resources I have to advertise to those people. So there's
yeah,
quite a few differences, and we could get into them, as we go.
yeah, absolutely. So that's crazy, man. Like it had like a time where like it just didn't
Yeah.
sell out, or like how does that play out?
Well, I mean, we're dealing with celebrities. We're dealing with Mike Epps, who everybody seems to know. We're dealing with Cat Williams when he's on. You see the promo if it's targeted at you, and you know who these people are.
They kind of sell
Kind
themselves.
of right. They kind of sell themselves, in regard to that aspect. But when you're dealing with a new producer, a new product, a new beat, you still kind of have an uphill battle where you kind of have to prove yourself. You have to get to the right audience. You have to get to the right people, and you have to make sure that those people are interested, that they're engaged with your product or your service or whatever it is you offer. And they
Right.
also have to be, again, the right person. So you have to understand who your target audience is and who these people really are that you're trying to target. Otherwise, you're just throwing your money to the wind. You're not necessarily going to get anywhere.
Yeah, and a whole bunch of money because they don't understand even like the basic principles of a target. You know what I mean? Like a target market or a target customer. So maybe we can talk about that, man. Like, what's the foundation of building a successful ad campaign on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever?
I mean, the basic, let me put it to you like this. First and foremost, not everybody's your target audience. Not everybody's your customer, right? If you sell hip hop beats, let's say, for example, let's talk about, different genres of hip hop. There's trap, there's hip hop, there's, underground stuff, there's more market. For example, you do target the people that listen to trap. Now, are they rappers or are they just listeners? Now,
Yeah.
do listeners buy beats? No, rappers do. So now you have to subdivide that segment into two different people. So if you target, let's say, if you make beats like 40 and you target Drake fans, right, you're going to blow your entire budget because Drake fans way outnumber people that rap over Drake like beats. So you have to understand that not only do you have to target people that listen to Drake, or like Drake, but you also have to target people that may or may not, or that rather may have ASCAP, BMI, So understanding who your target audience is. And I always say it like, who is your ideal customer? Meaning that if you could take one person and clone them and put them around the block so you have a line of the same guy that's just going to keep walking in and buying your product or service, who would that be? If you can't answer that question, you have no business even paying a single cent to an advertising campaign. It's foolish because you don't have, especially as an artist or a producer, you don't have an unlimited budget. Even if you're a signed major artist, they're not giving you like, oh yeah, we're just going to where, how, and why. And they need to understand how they're going to spend their marketing and advertising dollars to target the right audience. So they're not wasting their dollars. So they could allocate that money and put it towards something else. So if you don't know who these ideal customer is, you need to stop what you're doing. You need to go back to the drawing board. You need to sit there and say, if I could create the single most likely customer that I could sell to over and over and over again, who would that person be? And that's the foundation to any advertising. And do some research. There's no reason you can't go and hit up different rappers and just say, hey man, I'm doing some marketing research. Like, would you mind taking a quick survey? I got a couple questions I want to ask, and then just get them on the phone, send them to a Google form. Make an online form for them to fill out and answer questions. Give them some incentive. Hey, I'll give you a free beat, or I'll give them something that they could actually value, and then ask them to fill in fill in all these forms for you to understand, and then you'll see the pattern in those answers. If you ask a bunch of people and you start seeing a pattern emerge, you could start to kind of position yourself to lay out, like if it's the same thing over and over again, just you'll know that this is my audience, right? If they keep giving you the same answer, you'll know this is my audience and this is who I should target. So again, you want to talk foundation. That is the example. I used to work for telecoms. I used to sell cell phones back in the day, right? Mm-hmm. If a grandmother came into my store, I would notice that my voice would elevate a couple octaves. Like, oh, how you doing? Like, I would sound weird. I would be like, why do I sound this way? Yeah. But it's sort of like when a grandmother and let's say an 18-year-old kid walks in and I go, hey, how you doing? Like, I changed my tone of voice and I changed my demeanor to kind of appease them and to have them recognize that I'm talking to them in the language that they understand, whether it's body language, whether it's actual tone of my voice. You can't talk to everybody the same. So not only do you have to focus on the content, you also focus on how you're talking to people. Because if your audience is going to be a little older, perhaps looking to what you're saying to them, but how you're saying it, that's really important as well. Yeah. I wanted to throw that in too, because it's a really important topic.
Yeah, that is good, man. Tone, that's everything, man. So everybody's been hearing about this big old iOS 14 change in Facebook and them kind of going back and forth with this whole privacy thing. I know I've personally seen I've seen a difference in my ads, my campaigns and things. So how is that affecting targeting? Like how, I mean, we know it has an effect, but like from your perspective as someone who does this, who looks at campaigns every day, what's the impact on that? When we're trying to set these campaigns up.
So sometime this month, and they kind of rolled it out in piecemeal. They kind of rolled it out certain devices as like a testing measure, and then they finally rolled it all out. I would say, what's the 16th? I would say it's been out for about a week. It's Apple's app tracking transparency framework. I hate it, but I also understand where they're coming from because privacy is really important. You don't want your information to kind of be sold and bought. And the worst thing about it is that information is being shared and sold, and we're not getting anything for it. You know what I mean? We're basically getting a platform that we could use. I guess it's something, but we all know that Facebook is different from when it was years ago because the reach is gone. You know, so the app tracking transparency framework really protects iOS devices from ad tracking, and it prevents people like myself to be able to collect certain information, certain events that you could do on the certain website. If you go to a Shopify site or any site that has a Facebook Pixel would usually collect the clicks that you've made, the time that you spent on the site, and tons of other events so you can actually optimize your ad campaigns for. Now, Apple kind of got in a I don't want to say situation, but they kind of realized, and they've always been pro privacy, so they kind of put themselves out there as a pro privacy platform, and a company that cares about user privacy. And what that means for us as advertisers is the Pixel doesn't function like it used to. It used to be able to collect as many events as you want. It used to be able to customize and optimize your events to as many events. I mean, it could be like somebody landed on the site, did this, did that, clicked this button. That could be all optimization. So you could target people who do just that.
Yeah.
That's gone. Now you're limited to 8 events per website. Your website has to be verified with Facebook. So you have to do like you would verify with Google. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that part of it. But it's pretty much the same thing where you have to verify your website. You have to use the aggregated event measurement tool inside of the event manager, and you have to put what events mean the most to you. So it could be, purchase is basically gone unless you're using the API. So you could you really only could do view content and like page view. So I hate to say it, if you're not a computer developer and you don't understand how APIs work. Now, API, I don't want to get into it too much, but it's just a way to pass information from the server right to Facebook. If you don't know how to do that, there's certain plugins you could get for if you're using a WordPress and you have a WordPress site. There's a plugin called Pixel My Site Pro that allows you to do the API. Otherwise, you're only limited to like a couple events, and they're not great. So the problem that I've seen, we drive traffic right to Ticketmaster. We don't own Ticketmaster, so I can't verify it as my domain. So I can't use purchase. I can't use add to cart as optimization. I can't use instant check or initiate checkout. And it's been definitely a hindrance. It's been a problem for me. Now, my other clients who I have had developers go in and create actual, linkage from their website server to the Facebook. We are doing really, really well. Okay. And that's because the market is getting hammered by this iOS and people are they're dropping out. So we're getting the benefit of being, ready for ready for war and not that many people on the battlefield, so people are really starting to see Facebook kind of marketplace kind of become a little less crowded. That's for sure.
So, so if you own the domain, you can still use the events like purchase and things like that, or is it still limited to only like certain kinds of events, such as like
if you own the domain, yes, you can use purchase. The fact of the matter is this: so they've ran a poll on Apple users and the opt-in numbers and how many people opted into this this app tracking transparency framework, meaning that every time somebody either installs an app through the Apple Store, they have to go and they have to actually opt in to be tracked, right? Okay. So they get a big pop-up and it says, do you want to be tracked by ads? Now, take a guess at how many people said yes to that.
Not a lot.
4%. So 4% of iOS users that have iOS 14 installed. Now, granted, not everybody has iOS 14 updated because people don't update for years.
Yeah, I haven't
But
yet.
for the yeah, I'm scared. But for the most part, a lot of people that are just, oh yeah, update, click. Now, 4% of those people said that they want to be tracked. That means that basically the entirety of the iOS ecosphere has now disappeared from tracking on Facebook and just about every other platform.
Dang.
So that means that you're no longer are getting audience network tracking. You're not getting, app network tracking. You're just limited basically to what's happening on Facebook, and that's about it.
Wow. That's crazy,
That sucks.
bro. Yeah.
That sucks. There's ways around it though. Like I said, there's ways that you could maneuver around it, like installing the Facebook API and getting that set up. But it's a little bit of a different playing field. Now, again, if you understand what you're doing and how to work around these roadblocks, you're still gonna do pretty well.
Yeah.
You just have to kind of dig into it and kind of, start to position yourself, on that other side of the fence. So they're locking people out.
Yeah. Nah, like obviously, like in a big way. So would you say, like, I'm trying to think, like, is it with these limitations, is it better now to kind of go with, I guess, a broader audience that's not as specific, since you can't really track what people are doing, what their interests are, because they're not allowing you to now? Like, would that be more effective with this happening, or would you still say like it's still wise to kind of target and narrow your audience down when creating a campaign?
I've always, and even Where's Waldo, right? If you have a huge audience and you're trying to find somebody that resembles your ideal customer, the bigger the audience, the more Facebook has to work. Now what Facebook is doing is relying on kind of, it's almost the opposite of what they were doing before. Before they were saying, let us figure it out. Tell us who you want. You don't have to overburden us with all these different data points. Like, you don't have to say that you need a woman, a man, this, that, he's interested in blah, 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 and narrow down by blah, blah, blah. They used to tell you not to do that because they would say that we had so many, data points to look through that it would actually weigh down the AI, and the AI wouldn't learn fast enough. And then you would never find the target. And then basically you're just going to be spending money to be in learning mode. Because, if you're launching an ad and your ad says learning, you're paying way too much. You're not getting the results you're wanting, and it could get stuck in learning mode. And then you're just basically paying to, the snail speed, find these customers that you're looking for.
Yeah.
It's a little different now. Now Facebook is looking for you to tell them exactly who you're looking for. They are telling you to say, tell us the demographics, the interest, and, try to limit things as much as you can. I'm not telling anybody to do anything specific because everybody's sandbox is a little different. Mm-hmm. But you do have to understand who your customer audience is. And even a step further from like tracking and trying to understand, the thing now that's really, really important is your content. And it's always been important.
Yeah.
But we kind of had this like crutch where Facebook was like, yeah, we'll find people. And then, you might not have the greatest conversion, but, you'll get something. Now it's like your content is super important. You got to make sure that people are rewatching your videos multiple times, that they're clicking on your links, that they're loading the landing pages. So your content's got to be hitting.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're dealing with like a twofold issue. You're dealing with, the tracking and the targeting not working as well as it used to. But now your content isn't getting people to click because them a good incentive because your content's weak, or you're using like, your camera, you're recording in 720p instead of, 2K or 4K or whatever. And you're trying to push your content in like a pixelated video. I mean, you tell me how professional you're going to look and how people are going to want to spend money with you, So content and targeting is like where your focus should be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, man. For the new people coming in, let me know where you're from. Let me know if you have any questions. We're talking about Facebook ads with my guy, Brennan Lunin. He's been doing this for some time. We're just chopping it up, man. Doing a live Q&A. It wouldn't come out of learning mode because I guess, I don't know, I think the audience size was too small or something like that. So I ended up
Budget audience, yeah.
Yeah, I ended up killing it. But I wonder like if conversions are impacted more than like an objective like link clicks or just different or reach or something like that. Like, do you think conversions is going to be more impacted than those other objectives with this new iOS 14 change?
Absolutely. Conversions do entail a lot more personal data than link clicks. You know what I mean? So when you're looking at a conversion, now conversion doesn't always mean purchase. Conversion could be a form been filled out for a leads objective. It could be not just, I can't even think anything off the top of my head, but not just purchases. Don't think of conversions as always somebody buying something from you. It could be a new sign up. It could be a form filled out, but again, it can be purchased. Now, when you're dealing with purchases, you're also dealing with, first, last names, usually addresses, phone numbers. So a lot more personal data is being passed. Now, it's secure because it's going through Facebook servers, but it's still going to Facebook and it's still going to this big multinational conglomerate, that's super huge. And people are just starting to trust Facebook a lot less because the way they handle data and the way that they had breaches and things. So Apple having that be the main driver of this whole iOS 14 change is really looking at it like, well, we're the kind of company that cares about data. We care about protecting all of our customers. And so we don't want this information to just go to Facebook without anybody having a say about it. So they give you this opt-out. Now, conversions requiring all this data, not having all this data, are starting to become less reliable because you're not seeing the data actually from conversions because it's not being passed.
Yeah.
So you're not getting a lot of this information from the user that you used to get, which would help the conversion or would help the campaign optimize better. But now it's also, you're not getting some of the data, right? Because they're cutting off the pipeline of this data coming into your Pixel or API, whatever you're using, and you're not getting this information. So it's becoming harder and harder for you to really say like, okay, I want to optimize for conversions and get exactly what you're looking for. You know what I mean? So there's ways of going around it where I don't want to say around it like you could bypass it, but there's ways that you could have, emails going out where you collect information. So there's other ways you could get this information from people, not necessarily purchasing stuff, but like names and emails and things like that. If you do email campaigns, you obviously have people sign up and you would get that information. But directly from ads, it's starting to get a lot harder, and it's a lot harder now to optimize for these specific events. Like if you want to sell beats and you want to optimize for sales, it's becoming harder and harder. So we all have to kind of work around that,
Yeah, definitely. Man, so one thing that I always think about or wonder about for artists specifically, like you mentioned earlier, having Firecon artists to do that. Like, how do you give value as an artist that just has music for people to stream? Like, what can you give away? You know what I mean? To kind of start that relationship or get somebody to give you their email address, especially if nobody knows who you are. You know what I mean? That's something I wonder about.
Yeah, the one thing that I've always remembered, and I can't remember who gave me this this little gem, but if you're an artist, your fan base isn't just people who just listen to music. Your fan base is also other artists, right? If you're ahead of people on whatever the totem pole or whatever you want to call it, they might want to learn from you. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you always have to do like a performance or give away free music or any of that stuff. You could be teaching other artists how to do stuff. You could be, imparting your skills onto others and growing your audience within your own industry first. Because I'm a musician, I play, I produce, and I listen to music. Yeah. So if somebody came at me with something I didn't understand or know, that would give me a lot of value. So whatever it is that you feel you excel at, I mean, and just not even that, just get this final project or process, or I'm sorry, a final product that everybody seems to enjoy and value so much. When you put it out there, people want to know how you got to that point, because a lot of them are lacking this information. They don't know what to do. And that's gonna be something that might spark their interest in you. And then they're listening to it. They have their own little networks. Fire gems I ever heard from my guy David Salinas. He's a CEO of Digital Surgeons, a big advertising firm where I live around here. He said, "Your network is your net worth."
That's a fact.
That is such a fire quote. If you really dive into it, it's not necessarily what you know, and it's not necessarily how talented you are, but it's who's in your network, how many different nodes you have in your network, because you try to, you not necessarily impress, but you impart some information onto somebody. That person ends up imparting it onto somebody else, and then that fire starts, and then it starts moving around. So while you're thinking like, oh, I got to come up with this crazy idea that's going to, like, you don't have the money sometimes or the resources to do it, but if you just go to the bottom basics of just showing people what it is that you do, those people will start to then distribute that information to their networks, and you'll see your growth. And it's going to be basically like, just make sure that your name is on it. Make sure that your watermarks are on the video, so people don't necessarily just pass it off as theirs or whatever. But if you're in the video itself, I mean, that's gold. But just focus on giving away information, because you know what? Ultimately, the information alone doesn't really work. You have to put action behind it. Right. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't. So giving away information is not going to hurt you in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. No, that's so true, dude. Like, a lot of people ask me, it's like, yo, like, why do you give away so much on your social media? Like, as far as
look how great it's been for you, man.
Bro,
look how great it's been for you.
Because when I first started, like, the road to 10 placements thing, like, something I had no idea that it was gonna grow into. But I don't care about giving the information out, because like you said, dude, most people won't even finish the course, for one, and then even more people won't apply the information. Like, I talked about, people having every course out there, man, and just like soaking up all this information, and just never do anything. They know everything, bro. Like,
professional students, I call
them, and they never do anything with the information. So it's so many people out there.
Technically, it's not our information.
Right.
We didn't invent any of this stuff. I'm just a custodian of it. Like, I'm here passing this information on to the next person, like somebody passed on to me.
Yeah.
And the more people you have in your network, the better and the more successful you're going to be. It's not going to be about, oh, I know this little trick on how to compress and EQ and side chain. Who gives a crap? Like, pass that on to somebody else. The next guy that does it is going to call you back and either thank you or send something your way. That's how it all works, man. Like, it's always kind of like a reciprocated kind of fashion, where people, like, once you share some information, you put it out in the world, karma will come back and bring you, a reward for it. And I'm a big believer in that.
Yeah, dude, it definitely comes back. And man, that's giving away information, helping people, giving value, man. That's the key. It really is. And then you find yourself, like, other people just want to help. Like, they feel obligated, to help you in some type of way, because you've given them so much value. So it just works.
And let me ask you this: since you've been giving away your information, what has that really done for you in the sense of, like, your stature, right? It elevates you, right? No, well, I don't say no, but you have basically little objections to overcome when you're dealing with somebody, whether it's on a business level or on, like, a mentorship level. You don't have to prove yourself. If somebody saw you giving away information for God knows how long, and then other people were interacting and engaging with you because, hey, man, Ant, what's going on? Hey, Clint, I'm trying to figure, so they're coming to you, and it's a visible thing where other people see other people, like, rushing to you, holding you up on this, pedestal, as if, you're the man. And it's like, that's where the value is the more you give away this information, the more you build yourself up to be an expert in your own industry, and the more that elevates you. Not to say you're better than anybody in any kind of way. That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
But just on like a skill level or just a trust level, people look at you and they say, this guy knows what the hell he's talking about, because I've seen his content. obviously I was benefiting from it some way or another, and I've shared it around, and it got me accolades for bringing this information. So it's give this information away and put yourself out there as an expert. And I guarantee you that you're going to have very few objections from people you're trying to do business with, or make deals with, or close deals with, or otherwise. You know what I mean? I think it's the most important thing.
Yeah, it definitely is. Shout out to one of my mentors, like when I first got started and kind of doing music professionally, Tina E. Clark. She always puts the middle initial in there, but she put me up on game on like the whole content and just how to become, I guess, quote unquote expert, even though like I don't know everything, right? And I have no problem saying like, yo, I don't know. I know somebody who can help you though, but right. She really gave me the gems on that, because like we were working together, and she would do like these little cherbits like on Twitter, and she would just have me record them. She would come up with the content, and I would record them. And she was like, yo, like I'm gonna make you like a go-to in your space. I had no idea. I was like, I don't know what she's talking about, but I'll record it because I want to help her out. But over time, I started to see the effects of that. Because like you said, if you're constantly sharing information that helps people, and then people are getting results from that, it's naturally just going to make you a go-to source for whatever information or kind of information you're sharing. And you don't really deal with a whole lot of objections because you're putting yourself out there. You're breaking down those barriers, up front. So
before they come up. Yeah. And it's like, how could anybody, after seeing all the work that you put in, and after seeing all the engagement that you have on your ads or on your posts or whatever it is that you're doing, videos, how could somebody come to you and kind of doubt you to the point where they're like, oh, I need you to prove yourself to me, like you need to work for free, or you have to compete in these like contests with like 30 other people that are doing the same project, and maybe we'll pick you. Like, I mean, all respect to anybody who does that. I'm not saying like there's different paths that we all climb to the top of our personal mountains and stuff, but I personally would never do contests like for pay. Like I would never submit music with 40 other people
and have to possibly pay to do it.
Yeah, or pay or put a lot of work in and have to wait for them to decide whether or not I'm the right person or whatever. Yeah. That's the way I see that for me. And this isn't for anybody. This is for me personally. I've put in way too much work to do that. Now, if you're coming up, you may want to do that because it may give you expertise. It may give you, you might win. You know what I mean? It's just when you go out and you give this information prior to being contracted and prior to being, actually hired to do the job, it kind of makes you it makes it less necessary for you to have to prove yourself later.
Yeah.
When it's later, when I want to get paid, I don't want to have to sit here and explain to people what I've done. That should be out there. You want to see my portfolio, go to my website, go to my, social, go check that out. You know what I mean? And that's how it is. And I'm almost a little cocky about it these days. And I don't want to sound like I'm, my head's too big, and granted it's already big enough, but It is one of those things where it's like, I get to say to people, like we talked offline, like, you don't pay me enough for this. Like, you don't pay me enough to sit here and doubt me and all this. Like, I got work done. Go check it out. Holler at me when you're ready. I'm here. This is my rate. Goodbye. Yeah. Because we've done enough. We all have our, our customers lined up. I don't have to sit here and beg and plead because my content speaks for me.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, it's like cryptocurrency. If you have enough of the right, coin, you're not working, it's working for you. You know what I mean? Make sure your content does the same.
Yeah, dude. Absolutely, man. For the new people coming in, I'm chopping it up with my guy, Brennan. We're talking about ads, Facebook ads, music marketing for artists, producers. Drop your questions. Anything that you have regarding Facebook ads. But yeah, like, cause I seen your content, and like you said, like the work speaks for itself, and I booked the consultation, paid the fee, no questions asked, man. That's how we do business around here.
Appreciate that, brother. Always. And look at what it's done for me. Not only was I able to actually make some money, which isn't really relevant. The reason I charge for consultations is just so I don't book every single person that wants to book with me. Money is a good filter. It gets people through, that screen of like, are you serious? Do you really want to do this?
Yep.
You know, but then I was able to jump on your podcast because of your podcast. I got onto Beats. I can't remember the name of the podcast, but homie hit me up, said that he saw me on your podcast and booked me on his podcast. So it's,
Dope.
you know, your content will do the heavy lifting for you. You just gotta, you know, you gotta get it out there and build your credibility. I mean, your credibility is the most important thing. Otherwise, it doesn't matter what you accomplished. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact. Yeah. So shout out to We Create Music TV, another dope channel, and dope homie. We Create Music TV wants you on the show as well. See, just like that.
that works, man.
Yeah,
I'm available.
Yeah,
Hit me
dude.
up.
Yeah, We Create Music TV, man. Dude, like the quality is just it's dope. I'll just say
First, my video is freezing or not. I don't know if y'all could see it or not, but I hate being frozen in weird positions where it's like you make a stupid face and it freezes. That's great.
Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that, dude. That's weird. Like I
don't know.
The first
Comcast. I always blame Comcast. It's always Comcast fault.
Probably
Comcast get it right. So the cold is people that have never heard of you, heard your brand, but they like the topic. Like they like they may like beats or they may like music or whatever. They're interested in the music industry. That's a cold audience. They don't know anything from you. They're not going to necessarily convert easily. Then there's warm audiences. So people that engage with your Facebook ads, with posts, with Instagram, you know, that's warm audience because they do know of you. They might have been to your website. They might have checked out your content. They might have watched your videos, but they're still maybe not ready to convert to whatever, whether it's a purchase, whether it's a sign up or whatever. And then you have your hot audiences, which is your buyers, your faithful, you know, engagers, people that are constantly like engaging, sharing your content. Right. And even if you're talking about that aspect with the sharing, likes are the lowest kind of common, you know, denominator of engagement. So likes are just people going, cool, click, move on. And you have comments. That's a second in that totem pole. The comments are people that are actually finding what you're talking about really interesting and feeling enough to actually comment and sit there. And now when you comment, you want to sound smart. So there's the thought of looking well on social media. So they're putting effort into it. And then you have share, which is, I would think, the highest form of engagement, because sharing is, you're obviously putting your own credibility behind it. You're kind of attaching your name to the topic, right? So if you come up with a dope ass article and I share it, I want to make sure that you're not making me look foolish. So I have to read your article, I have to prepare, and then I put it out there, and then people judge me based on your work. So that means that your work has to be, you know, up here for me to actually share it to my audience and my network. Yeah. So, you know, you now, because of all this stuff happening while I was 14, I started focusing more on the people who engage with my Facebook page, right? That means you have to start doing work with your Facebook page. You can't just post on your personal. And first and foremost, people, as much as I love to, and I do it myself, and I'm guilty of, I'm just upfront, I'm guilty of everything I'm going to say not to do, right? Yeah. Right? Let's just be honest. Let me put that out there. I am not perfect. And I am a human being, and I do everything that I tell others not to do because I'll get lazy and whatever. But if you're not lazy like me and you actually want to do everything the right way, don't focus your time on your personal profile, putting things like your links to your profiles on social or your BeatStars or whatever. Don't do that on your personal page. First and foremost, you're not going to get any credit as far as you're not going to build any audiences. There's not going to be able to be a way for you to export any of this information and use it as audience. So you don't know who's clicking on what. You don't know who's doing what. It doesn't even matter. Yeah, that's point. It may make you feel good that like, 30 people like my post. What does it matter? Who cares, right? Yep. Focus that energy on your Facebook page, business page, right? Put that energy in your Instagram business profile. Convert your account to either a creator or a business, depending on what it is you do, and start to actually earn these follows and these shares and these likes, and convert them to audiences that then you could get engaged through your ads. Because in Facebook ads, you could create an audience that is Instagram. You could create an audience that's Facebook page. You can create an audience, people who engage with your posts or your ads. So that ties in the quality of your content and, you know, your platforms like Facebook and Instagram. The reason I'm even mentioning it is because none of those things use pixels. None of those things are really affected by this iOS 14. So if you're on Facebook owned properties like Snap or like Instagram, like WhatsApp and like Facebook itself, you building these, you know, these audiences. I don't want to say unencumbered. I don't want to say that you have this free range, but it's a lot more freeing as far as when people are on Facebook property versus when they're on a different website.
So you
could focus.
My bad, I didn't mean to cut you out. So
no, please go ahead.
So you could still do the, you know, add everybody who watched 10 seconds of this video on Instagram or Facebook, and then nothing changes there, and it's still gonna go and target everybody who did that. Yep. That's dope.
You're still gonna have a hard time with optimization. You're still gonna have time with events, just because Facebook is not letting you do it anymore.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because again, you're not selling anything unless, well, pause. If you're selling things on Instagram, and I'm still trying to, and I kind of gave up on it, but I'm still trying to figure out a way to sell beats on Instagram shops, because you have to sell a physical product. And I've toyed around with the idea of, like, you know, buy a T-shirt, get a free beat. You know what I mean? Or like,
is that why they keep denying me? Because I tried to set up the store, and I was just like, I sell digital products, and they denied me again. Okay,
they were working. They were working for a while to bring digital products, but then this happened, and then they were like, nope. And it's just amazing how many features. You know, I'm heartbroken, but I'm not like hopeless. You know,
yeah.
Because ultimately, it may reverse in the future. It's not to say that Apple is forever going to do this, but it may be somehow they might find a way to figure out a way to get this information and allow people access to it with like a custodial kind of access, where you're not handling the information, but you might just have access to it. And, you know, it might just be something that they could like Facebook was doing without you getting too heavy in, because people were figuring out who these people were, even with custom audiences. Like people were putting offline data together with the online data and figuring out exactly who people were, not just like ID numbers, but actual like name, last name, everything.
Wow. And
so that's why Apple became a little bit more concerned about, you know, this data just being available. Plus there's a few breaches too. So
yeah. That's crazy, dude. So
but definitely focus on your Facebook, Instagram again. Definitely.
Yeah, the dope thing about using, you know, like a creator account or your business page or business account on Instagram, you also get like access to the insights. And like I was telling somebody the other day, like, yo, those insights are where the gems are. Like, you can make decisions to increase whatever, followers, income, engagement. Like, you can make decisions based off those insights. With a creator page or a business page, you can see which content performs the best. So now you know to make more content like that. Like, it can really help you out. Like, I use it all the time. Like, everything I'm creating now is based off of some type of data. Like, I'm rarely just creating random stuff out of thin air. Like, it's literally calculated. Like, everything y'all see on Instagram, it's based off something else that performed great. Or whether it's a topic, whether, you know, the format of it, whatever. I do the same thing with all the other platforms, man. I just use stuff that's already worked and just double down on it. So yeah.
But stop. I mean, you know, to everybody listening, stop assuming, without looking at these insights and these analytics. Stop assuming that you know what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, that's the number one way to fail at doing all the social media marketing and doing, you know, advertising, is assumptions. You know, I love that. Like, when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. Like, you know, assumption is the mother of F ups. You know what I mean? Where if you assume that that's what it is because you feel like something's hot or you feel like you love something, none of the stuff we're doing here is for us. Zero.
Yeah.
Nobody cares, really. And the sad thing that I always had to explain to everybody was nobody gives a crap about you.
They don't, man.
Until you make been waiting for it, if nobody's been waiting for it. You know, stop doing these braggadocious, like, you know, the hottest single of the year when you're like, I'm not going to get into that, but just more of like, look at your analytics and look at like the links that you're putting out to whatever products or beats or whatever. And look at the numbers that they're getting. Look at your posts. You know, what are you posting and what kind of engagement is it getting? Look at your competition. You know, look at Ant's stuff. Look at what he's doing if you're in the same lane, and see what kind of stuff that he's doing. And don't copy it, but copy his process. Yep. Right. So if he's doing a video a week and it's the same time every week, you know, and it's funny because I always hear the term programming, and, you know, especially with all this vaccine stuff going on, and people talking about everybody's being tracked, or people are being programmed by the media. And it's like, programming is like an innocent word if you think about it. Programming is a way for you to kind of teach your audience of when you do certain things, like, and how you do it. So you're programming your people to know that every Saturday at 5 p.m. you put a new blog post out, or every Wednesday you have a new video out. That programming is reminding them that you could trust this creator to have his stuff at the same time, you know, weekly, monthly, whatever, you know what I mean? And that's really what programming is. You're programming people to understand that you're going to have certain things out consistently. And, you know, they get this information and they make these decisions off these analytics, because they know, okay, so looking at our analytics and our charts and all our bars and everything, it looks like Wednesday at 7 p.m. we have the most engagement. Most of our users are online. That's when we're going to put the stuff out. No. You know, if we have, you know, we're looking at the analytics and we're seeing that every time we put a beat out, it doesn't get any engagement. But every time we do a making of the beat, it gets a ton of engagement.
Yeah.
Do that.
Crucial,
you know,
man.
And then in that, put, like, you know, if you're doing it on YouTube, especially, put all the links in your description of everything you want, because people will, oh, cool. You know, I like this beat a lot. I like how it came together. You know, it got me, I got engaged with it. And I'm looking at it. Look at the description and the notes, and you'll see a link to a BeatStars page or whatever. And it could go right to the page and buy it. And it's better than trying to, like, hard sell people on things like, oh, this is the craziest beat ever. People just, we're bombarded with advertising day in and day out. It's called advertising blindness, where you no longer, like, you could walk down. I live near New York City, so you could walk down in Times Square, and you may not notice anything. All the big signs and glittery displays they have. You may notice McDonald's, you may notice Starbucks, you may notice the Subway. You know what I mean? But everything else is just, you're like this. You're walking like you got blinders on.
Yep.
And that's how we are with digital advertising. We scroll past things. So now you have to think, how do I stop somebody from scrolling?
Yeah. You gotta get creative.
How do you stop my timeline that's going to stop me from scrolling and go, what in the hell is this? We're like, damn, that's cool. Like, and then make it so I want to watch it 2, 3, 4 times.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good luck. But that's the hard part. But I mean, if you could figure that part out, you're way ahead of the pack. That's for sure.
Yeah, man. Like, yeah, man. People don't want to be sold to, like, every day, especially if you haven't given any value. Like, if you just start the relationship off like, yo, give me money. Like, that's like walking up to somebody randomly and just like, give me your money now.
I call it middle of the mall stuff.
Dude, I hate
like
that.
And I got that phrase from the riffraff of all people, that crazy maniac. But middle of the mall stuff is like, you're walking through the mall and some guy pops out and tries to sell you a helicopter. And you're like, bro, I'm not in the market for helicopters. Or like, here, put this like weird lotion on. No, like that's what you sound like to people when you're just jumping out of left field and going, hey, buy my product. And they're like, okay, first of all, like, I'm just looking for shoes for my kid.
Exactly.
Like, I'm not looking to buy your beats. I don't even rap. Why are you showing me your rap beats? Like,
yeah,
cool, good for you. You just spent like $30 for this campaign, and you got, you know, single mothers that, you know, 2 kids and they're trying to work 2 jobs. Like, that's not your audience. So,
right.
You know,
yeah, that happened to me, dude. I was in a clothing store. I was at the mall trying to get a nice shirt. And, yeah, dude, somebody came up to me with the CD. They didn't know what I did or anything, but some kid, man, it came up, yo, you want to buy this CD? It's like, no. And then they got mad. I was like, how can you get mad? Like, you're catching me in the middle of looking for a shirt. Like, I'm not in the mindset of buying. I don't even know why they had a physical CD, but it's like, nah, like this, I'm good.
There's two, and it's a great point. There's 2 forks that I could take on this topic you brought up. Number one, why the hell are people selling CDs, like you said? Like, it's, you could just give somebody. You could make business cards with a QR code that leads to like, you know, your Linktree
The
page,
links.
and people could do that.
Yeah.
Right. But the second part of it is, um, you can't use marketing. And remember, I don't know if you remember last time we spoke, and I kind of gave you that example of hunting versus fishing.
Yeah.
Right, where you have or you have inbound marketing and outbound marketing. Now, inbound marketing is what I do. Outbound marketing is what the homie with the CD does. Outbound marketing, I liken it to hunting, right? You got to get all your pack on your back, get your gun, and you got to start stomping around the woods, and you're looking for that one animal that's not paying attention, and you shoot it, and then you got to drag its ass all the way back. You got to skin it, so on and so forth, right? Or you could do what I do, which is inbound marketing, and you could sit on a boat and you could put 8 or 9 different fishing rods in the water. You could bait them just the right way for the right fish that I want to catch, sit in the right spot that I want to catch the fish where I know it is, right time of day, right atmosphere as far as weather conditions or whatever. And I could put 8 different rods in my boat and sit back, put my hands up and put my feet up and just relax. I could, you know, watch TV or whatever. And that fish will swim up and I'll start grabbing up, and I don't even have to lift a finger short of just doing the prep work, which you sure enough you're gonna have to do.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. It's kind of like don't sit there and chase every customer and beat them on the head with a club. Buy my CD, but they're gonna. It's first of all, it's offensive. Second of all, nobody does it anymore. It's kind of like it's a hassle to deal with. You feel threatened. You like, I don't know what you're gonna do. You're mad at me for not buying your CD. I don't know if you're gonna throw it at me, pull a knife out. I don't know what you're gonna do. I'm feeling insecure.
Right.
Don't do that, and get other people to come to you. Like, and the example I always give is like a bakery, right? If you have a bakery in the middle of a busy like foot traffic area, all you have to do is you don't have to stand there and throw biscuits at people and throw donuts at people. You just got to open the door.
Yep.
Let that aroma spill out into the street and let people smell it and go, that smells delicious. Next thing you know, they're walking in, they're looking at your menu. Boom, you got them. And even if you don't get everybody, you'll get a big portion because people aren't going to walk into your store just to look around. They may, but at least then they become warm audiences and they become people that you could actually then, hey, listen, you don't have to buy anything now. You know, I have a list that I have, you know, new products coming out every week. Put yourself on it and I'll send you an email when it's ready and you could come. You know, I'm not going to spam you. I'm not going to sell your info. You know, that's a way better way of doing business than like, you know, jumping into people's DMs and going, yo, I made this fat beat. You got to hear it. I listened to maybe 2 of those people out of the thousands of the DMs that I got. And it's because those people were like, yo, I know you're probably not going to listen. Like, they gave me some game or whatever. And I was like, oh, all right. Pity, listen, you know, like, here you go. Like, nobody wants to be your nobody wants to be your click. We don't want to be your analytic, but we will be that analytic when you give us a good reason to do that.
Yep.
That's the OG imparting that on me. So I want to pass that on to y'all because I'm getting old.
Yeah, so. Nah, that was a major gem, dude. Like, the DMs, bro. I don't know when it'll ever stop. I get them every day.
Well,
just links, no introduction or anything.
Hottest mixtape out, like mixtape. People still doing mixtapes.
Yeah,
all right,
like, it's crazy. But yeah, that's the key, man. It's just like figuring out. Like you said, it's not about you. Like, you can think your song is dope. Nobody cares at the end of the day. Like, you have to give something that someone else cares about, that someone else needs, that can help somebody else, and you'll get so much further.
But even taken to that point, like people that have dope songs, right? You may have 1, 2 dope songs. But what I feel like, you know, and I wanted to touch on this because I always feel passionate about this. Yeah. What I feel that makes people really successful is not the 1 or 2 dope songs, because that makes you like a one-hit wonder.
Right.
But it's the catalog, right? So if you do get me to pay attention to you, and then I go back to your whatever, Spotify, your iTunes, and I see 3 songs, and nothing else, I'm leaving, because I want that connection with the artist that I listen to, that I'm gonna be able to like look at Tupac. Yeah. And I remember, I'll tell you a quick little story. When I was living in California, I was doing business with Big Psych. Rest in peace to the big homie. Big Psych, I don't know if you guys know, he was on a ton of he was Tupac's big homie when Tupac moved to LA from Philadelphia.
Gotcha.
And Big Psych was the dude that kind of like stopped Tupac from trying to be super gangster, because Pac wasn't. And I don't no disrespect to Pac. I mean, I love him as an artist, but he was not about that thug life like he claimed to be. He was an artist. Like, he always was super artistic. And Big Syke used to put him in the studio and take away like all his toys and just say, this is what you got to do, because you're not going to be on the street out here with us gangsters, because that's not, you're going to get yourself killed.
Yeah.
And the stories that he told me about it was Tupac would sit and do 4 or 5 songs in the studio, and one day, finished. And so people were surprised when he was dropping CDs after his death. And it's like, why are you so surprised? He had albums after albums pre-recorded and done. And one of the things that makes people so in love with Tupac is that they could go through his progression of when he started. You hear it on like the Digital Underground stuff. And then he moved through his entire career, and you could hear the different, you know, parts of his life in it, when he was angry, when he was like on his player shit, like when he was doing his stuff, you could hear it. Now imagine you as an artist with like 3 songs, or maybe like 1 mixtape that's got some like throwaways, and you just threw it together and released it.
Yeah.
You know, everything that we talked about advertising is all good and great, but you can't, what I call, polish a turd. So you have to make sure that your audiences get not only, you know, your advertising and looking all shiny, but when they go back to your house and they're looking at your house, that you know, not your physical house rather, but, you know, they go back to your, you know, your home where you keep all your, you know, your music, your best stuff. And they want to see that you have actual, you know, work that they could go through and actually like digest you as an artist, short of listening to one single. Because even though people have short attention spans, dude, give me one artist that's fire, and I'm gonna go through his entire catalog. Like,
that's true. You want to hear more after you hear that.
Yeah.
You hear that one. There's been plenty of artists where I heard one song, I was like, yo, I got to see what else they got out. And then it just starts this. I go down the rabbit hole, and now their streams are multiplying, their sales are multiplying. That makes sense.
Yeah. Because I mean, like people, and I used to be kind of anti throwing people to like using ads to send people to your Spotify store, because I'm like, well, you know, your ad is going to cost you like 30 cents a click, but your Spotify is going to pay you 0.0003 cents a spin. So how does that amount? Right. So it's like you're getting so little for the streaming, and you're spending so much to drive people. You know, it's almost like, I don't want to tell new artists not to use ads to push people to, you know, their Spotify stores. I would say that focus on your content, and focus on getting your songs up and your content up and your videos on YouTube, and, you know, your, you know, Instagram, whatever it is you got. Focus on your content, and focus on monetizing your content in a way that when you send people to your stores, that you could get those numbers up by like one ad click could equal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 10 different spins. You're never going to get that 30 cents back with just 10 spins, but somebody could get hooked on your content, and they might like a song, and they might just leave it on rewind and just play it in, you know, over and over again.
Yep.
And so advertising isn't going to solve all your problems, but approach it like a holistic approach. Like, approach it from the content, the advertising, the marketing, your image, you know, the way that you engage with people. If people leave comments on your Facebook or on your Instagram, make sure you're answering those comments and engaging with the people. You know what I mean? It's a lot, but it's not a mountain you have to move all at once. So I know it sounds overwhelming, and I don't want to overwhelm anybody, but make sure that you're making a list of things you got to do and checking those things off, because it's not just the ads, and it's not just like, you know, you got 100,000 followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
It's got to be like a holistic approach.
It all works together. It all works together. I think too, like, it's dope to like focus on trying to build organically first, you know, before spending a whole bunch of money, and then just use, once you see that people are engaging and you're able to retain attention from people and consistently build followers over time organically, then you can throw some money behind that and just, you know, kind of, I don't know, grow it more, I guess, because you know you already have proof of concept. Like, you know, you can draw people in with what you have.
Prove the concept first, though. You know what I mean? And then I mean, even imagine, like, let's say, for example, you're just fresh on the scene and you haven't developed your image, you haven't developed your catalog, and you haven't done all this stuff,
Yeah.
would you really want people to start like investigating you? Because that's really what's going on. They start to look into you and seeing what you're done. And do you really want people to start investigating you when you're not ready for it's sort of like if you're going to like a gala event and before you're fully dressed and fully ready to showered, shaved, you just get dressed and run out the door.
Yeah.
And you show up and people are looking at you like this dude's not ready for this yet. Why is he here?
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
And yet you're putting all these resources that you could hoard and keep until you're ready to release them. So and it's music, and I don't have to tell anybody timing is everything. You know, if you got poor timing, you know, it's again, I don't want to say this is more important than that. Nothing is more important than anything else. It's all important.
Yeah. And
you have to really either be mentored by somebody who knows and understands, or really take your time to really learn this industry, you know. And there's nothing wrong with doing things and failing. I failed repeatedly still to this day. Like it's my job. I mean, I kind of, you know, it's kind of part of my process is failure.
Yeah.
But don't waste your resources on failure. Like try to limit it to the point where you're not like blowing money on ads before you have really anything to promote.
Yeah.
You know, because if you start sending people to your store and you don't have a major release, you don't have any, it's for what? What do you want them to do? Because people come up and they show up and they're like, okay, we're here. The party isn't like, where's the party at? Like, there's no content really helps. Thanks.
Yeah.
You know, and a few of those, then maybe you could say to them like, hey, listen, like if, you know, I don't know what your hourly rate is or whatever. If I, you know, can I hire you for some consultations? Like people respect. It's not really about money to them because I'm sure that, you know, money's important, but I'm sure they're not going to necessarily like ask you for X amount unless this guy's serious. He's offering to pay me. He's not trying to waste my time. He's not just going to like waste my time and do nothing with it. Yeah. They might look you up, look at your profiles and see what you're working with. So just definitely like, you know, be respectful. Know that these people are busy. They don't need you. They'd rather you not contact them unless it's, you know, worth their time. But if it is worth their time, I don't know anybody who's in position to mentor somebody who's not going to, you know, who's not going to actually take you seriously if you come correct. You know what I mean? So
absolutely. I think free for a certain amount. Like I didn't need it at the time because there's, you know, just not cosmetically, but aesthetically, like there was just some things that that I was just like,
it wasn't your brand. Yeah, it wasn't our brand. Right?
But yeah, just the fact that they did that, they came, they offered value and showed that they can help in some type of way was it helped them stand out for sure. So I think that's definitely dope.
Be useful.
Yeah, man. What's up with any other questions you guys have? I don't want to.
I mean, that was a good one because that's fine. I got this Sunday. I got nothing to do.
Cool.
It's the mentorship thing is really important too because like I've always been like a self learner, and I've noticed that, you know, the self learning thing, although it's cool, although it's, you know, you can kind of learn at your own speed. It takes forever. So anytime that you could have somebody that has, you know, already a lot of skin in the game and a lot of mileage on them that they could impart that information, it's just, you know, just shut up and listen. And I don't want to sound like, you know, but that's what I did, you know, like a lot of people that taught me how to do things. You had to swallow the fact that you think, you know, even if they tell you things you already know, just let them, let them run through. And, you know, they have a process and you want to know that process and you want to learn that process. Just sit there and just be an open book and just be like, open your ears and close your mouth. And, you know, and people, like I said, people love teaching. That's kind of the thing. Like people love teaching because it makes them feel like they're somebody.
Yeah, like if you want to be a great conversation starter and go to whoever you want to mentor you, and then just ask them to talk about themselves or what they do, and they'll just
ask them questions.
About what they do. But yeah, dude, like so you mentioned a really important part, which was like shut up, be quiet, and listen. I've experienced that. I had a consultation. I was a young producer, and I only see it really in like young, like, you know, like teenagers, right?
Thundercats.
Listen, so mind you, he's trying to get from point A to point B. No placements to placements. So I'm giving him the game. He keeps interrupting throughout, you know, the consultation. He's like, oh yeah. That's what I was thinking about. I was gonna do that. Yeah, that's what it was. He just knew. He knew it already. I was like, so you're good.
There's a difference between knowing and understanding.
Yeah.
And people confuse the understanding part with knowing part. Like I might say something, and I've done hundreds of consultations, and you might know, I mean, you might understand what I'm imparting on you, right? You might understand a concept that I'm trying to impart.
Yeah.
But you didn't know it until I said it. And that's the difference that like a lot of people confuse, where understanding is like, well, I understand it, and they interject. Interjection is like the surest way to kill anybody's interest. Nobody needs to, like, it's sort of like when you go to somebody who's a professional, who's already doing it, right? They were doing it before you came, right? They don't need you to tell them what you know, because what difference does it make to them? You know,
Right.
It doesn't. And again, I'm not trying to sound like, I know I probably sound cocky, or I sound like, too like up on myself or whatever. And that's not the point. The point is time, and time is really important to these people, myself included, you included. Yeah, we could sit here on a Sunday and chop it up on a podcast or whatever, and that's what we intend to do. We could set our time differently, whatever. But if I'm doing my thing, I'm a busy guy, I have a business, I have a job, I don't have time for you to tell me what you're already doing, unless I need to know to formulate my consultation around it. But if I'm telling you something, and this goes out to all the young dudes that just they think that they want to impress, don't try to impress anybody, because if you're coming for a mentorship, you're already putting yourself in a little bit of like a lower rank position. It's sort of like a general talking to a cadet. The general doesn't need to know what the cadet knows, because the general knows that times 30. You know what I mean? And again, it's no disrespect to the people. It's just on a business level, you got to also take your emotions out of it. If you don't understand something and you're coming for help, and then as that help is coming to you, then you start to act like braggadocious, where you're like, oh yeah, I know that. What are you doing here? What are we? Why am I telling you stuff? Yeah, why am I telling you stuff you already know? You're good.
Yeah.
Go do it.
Yep.
And then people are like, oh wait, yeah, you're right. And then it's like, okay, so the mindset has to be, like you're going to school, your teacher just doesn't let you speak in class. It's the same principle. I mean, mentorship is like, I got to say, if it wasn't for me getting mentored, I don't know where I'd be right now. Like, I don't know what I'd be doing. I'd probably be off on some other tangent. My ADHD would kick in and I would start going off. I'm blessed that I had people that took the time and actually explained it to me. And I had to learn these same lessons, like, shut the hell up. Bro, nobody cares. They're not here to listen to you. It's a one-way conversation almost.
Yeah.
And again, it sounds like, I hate the way it sounds, and I realize what it sounds like.
It's the truth, though.
It's the truth, and the truth hurts a lot. People are like, well, I want to tell them how I think. They don't care.
They don't care.
They don't.
Like, yeah.
Sorry.
Man, any mentor I've talked to, dude. Like, I'm a student. Like, it doesn't matter. My credentials mean nothing. I'm not about to tell them. It doesn't matter, bro. Like, I'm here because I don't know something. I don't understand something, or I'm trying to. I have questions prepared if I need to answer them. But I'm soaking in everything. Like,
and they can't. And it's like Casper. I get what you're saying, but it's like even mentors who are like, put it to you like this: the best mentors I've ever had were a-holes. Mm-hmm. Some of the most like moving and the most inspiring people I've ever worked for, and I work for millionaires like directly under them. Like, I've watched these people and talked to these people and bothered them and pick their brains. The one thing that I would say, that you cannot judge your mentor based on how he treats you, because if he's got content or information that you want, or something you want to learn from them, even if they're like, I mean, look at like Mr. Miyagi or like any karate movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You didn't go in there and start telling Mr. Miyagi what you knew. He made you carry water because he doesn't need, but even if you weren't there, the water would still get brought up to the top of that mountain. Right. So the way that he looks at it, like, I don't have time to sit here and kid glove you. You want to learn, this is what you got to learn. And if you don't want to learn that way, that completely is your prerogative. And you could say, you know what? I don't like the way you treat me. I don't like the way I'm being handled. I'm going to leave. Then leave.
Yeah.
No skin off our backs as mentors. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, you could sit here and complain, but think about the cadets in boot camp. Think about, people starting out like at the most lowest, entry levels. Right. Nobody cares about these people, unfortunately. And you want to promote yourself to the higher positions, you got to swallow your emotions and just do whatever you have to. I mean, it's a cold world, but it gets warmer at the top. That's where the sun shines. You know what I mean?
I think that's the quickest path to success, though. It's just like listening, getting mentors, people who already done it, made the mistake, so you don't have to. Like, that's the cheat code at the end of the day.
Some people could look at other people and say, I'm going to avoid what he did and just do the right parts. I'm a little different, but that, and again, it's not necessarily like a bad thing, but you have to look at it from a perspective of like, how much time do I have and how fast and how bad do I want it? Do I want to continue to make my own mistakes? You know, I like the process more than I like the result.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really care about the result often. Like I want to succeed or whatever, but I love what I do and I like my process. That's really important to me. But if you don't like the process and you want the result, that's even more of a, reason for you to actually let somebody impart it on you. It's like Neo in the Matrix when they plug him into the back of the head, you know, and they pump all that stuff into it. That's the shortcut that you're getting from a mentor virtually. You know what I mean? It's like, it's the same feeling, you know what I mean? But you know, I'd like to answer some questions you guys may have about ads. I mean, I don't want to talk about mentorship all day, but if you guys have any questions about, you know, advertising, marketing, you know, how to market yourself on, you know, platforms, what to do, what not to do, I'd love to answer some of those too.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, we geek out about this stuff, dude.
Yeah. The main thing, like if sometimes you don't have the time to keep making mistakes over and over again, sometimes you just got to swallow your pride and just go ask for help. I'm the worst at that. I hate asking for help, but I've learned to do that because so much time goes into testing and learning on your own, because you just learn so many wrong things and you start trusting so many wrong sources, and you know, you lose direction. But I mean, you're right. I can't argue that. There's no right or wrong here. It's whatever works for you, but just certain aspects that have better, you know, better path to success.
Yeah.
Should you create a music video for your ad content? I mean, I can't tell you what you should or shouldn't create as far as, you know, what you should do is understand what your goals are, right? What do you want ultimately? And then understand what's called a KPI, which is your key performance indicator, right? So your KPI would be, do you want followers? Do you want certain amount of people on your YouTube channel so you could monetize, you know, and set those goals in actual hard numbers where you put actual number behind the goal. Where I hate when I ask people what they, you know, what kind of goals they have, and they go, yo, I want my music to reach the masses. And I'm like, I do too, but it's not a goal, that's an aspiration.
Right.
There's a difference between aspiration and a goal isn't like to blow up. That's an aspiration. The goal is to have 1,000 followers or subscribers on your YouTube channel.
You can measure that.
And you could break it down and piece it together, you know, where you could say 1,000 in a year, that's 3 followers a day roundabout. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you could do that. You could reach out to 3 people one way or another and get them to follow your content or your channel. You know, also it's, you know, a music video may be it if you're trying to, again, grow your YouTube channel, you know what I mean? But at the same time, while you're doing the music video, make sure you got a homie with a camera behind you recording BTS behind the scenes.
Yeah, people love that stuff.
Oh, I'd love that more than I like the actual video.
Yeah, absolutely, dude.
See like video, I want to see how you made it.
Exactly.
What kind of camera you use, what kind of equipment you got. That's what I want to know.
Yep. Yeah.
It's a great question. I appreciate it.
Mike Tova said, do you have any advice on how to migrate your following from one social media platform to another? For example, from Instagram to YouTube.
And you better answer that question first. Cause you got way more. I don't even bother with my YouTube. I should, but
sometimes it's cool. Like sometimes you can make posts. Like you guys see me post on Instagram. Like in my stories, I was talking about going live doing this on my Instagram stories, and then I link to the YouTube. Does it always happen and is it always effective? No, because some people like the experience on Instagram and they just stay on Instagram, and then you have people who go to YouTube for certain things and they just want a YouTube experience. And one of the surveys that I send out in my email, I ask, you know, where do you like to find like your information? So people like to go to YouTube to learn or like research stuff or watch tutorials and stuff like that, get information. So they're going to be on YouTube for those purposes. So depending on what you're doing on your social media platforms, you may have different content for each platform that satisfies 2 different audiences. So some people will come over and then others won't. I guess my advice would be to focus on the one that you want to focus on most, or that you have the most success with. Build your following on there, and then if you're going to bring anybody over, it'll be a little bit easier since you already have a following on one versus trying to satisfy all these platforms at once. I think another important thing is to make sure you're collecting the contact information directly from those followers in the form of an email, a phone number, something. So if any of these platforms go down, you can still send an email out, send a text out, say, hey, I'm on here now, I'm on this platform. And that way you never lose like that relationship, that contact. And you can just, you don't have to keep starting over. You own your audience. So that would be
that's super important, because just like you said, if these content platforms go down, chances YouTube going down is slim. Chances of any of these platforms really going down is slim. But what is really high is the possibility of you getting booted off those content. Off those platforms, right? So you violate one too many times the policies, you're going to get screwed. So the one thing that I would add to what Clint was saying, Ant, I call you Clint because of production, but to what Ant was saying was, you want to draw these people back to your own home base, whether it's your website, if you have landing pages or whatever you're using. You want to get these people's information, so in case you do get booted, you have still access to your audience, because your audience is living on somebody else's property right now.
Yep.
Right. It's like you're subletting from YouTube, and you're growing your audience on YouTube's property. I want to draw those people back to your homepage so you can pixel them. You can get their information. Also, the biggest thing that I would say about your question, Mike, is native content. And what I mean by native content is you can't do a minute video, or I'm sorry, you can't do like a 10-minute video on Instagram unless you're doing the IGTV, right? So you can't do regular 10-minute Instagram posts without using IGTV. So make sure you're using the right platform there. But you also can't use a lot of the times just the shape of the video, right? Instagram is square or 1080 by 1920, which is the story, right? So you can't put Facebook rectangle. It'll look weird, right? You can't, that sort of stuff. And it's also like the stuff you post on Facebook, you don't necessarily want to post or like repost on Instagram, because Facebook has links. Facebook has, a lot more showing of text in the preview. You know what I mean? Where if you use that, like post on Facebook and automatically post on Instagram, it's not going to be the same experience, because the experience on Instagram is way different than it is on Facebook. Same way with TikTok. TikTok, you can't really put very much in the caption, so you use most of that space for hashtags. You know what I mean? Where you want to make sure that you're remembering which platform you're on, and you could recycle content, but just make sure that you're recycling that content, not just in, the shape of the video itself or the image, but also that you're not using links in Instagram, which they can't press and will frustrate your viewers. Yeah. Right. Or if you're using like a double tap on this, to go to Facebook, because to you it seems like a shortcut. Like it seems like, oh, I'll just create one post here and it'll automatically go to all my other. Don't do that.
Yeah,
it's bad, and they'll penalize you for it. And especially the one thing that Adam Ivy, my dear friend and somebody,
my guy,
and it's the man, and he was my mentor. I actually paid and took his course.
Yeah,
and I recommend it highly, because he's not like a course creator. He's like a real music guy that created a course. There's a difference between a course creator and a guy who created a course to teach people. And he's not a course creator. Like, he's not selling you the course because he wants to make money. I'm sure he does, but he's not his primary concern to make these courses. And his course is really helpful. And one thing I've learned from Adam Ivy was that they are punishing people who make TikTok content, who then download those TikTok videos that have the TikTok logo in it, and then they're using them as their reels. And so they're getting penalized. Your reach is being squeezed next to nothing, and then you're being basically like you're given like a time frame until they're going to start blocking your video altogether, because that TikTok logo is showing up in Instagram videos, and they're going like, wait, are you trying to promote us, or are you trying to promote TikTok, which have nothing to do with us?
Mm-hmm.
So you're getting penalized for cutting corners, which I feel is fair.
Yeah. Yeah, that I seen that. Yeah, I get it. It makes sense. Like
Shout out to Adam Ivy, by the way, man.
Yo, he's a beast, man. Like
My
I was
dude,
talking to
man.
him on IG.
Big shout out to is my boy Mikey B Beats. Mikey Beasley. He's one of my closest friends, one of my dear friends.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to give him. He's getting really phenomenal at the whole visual thing. He's doing a lot of video work. Go check out Mikey B Beats. I think Calusa Media is his Instagram page. But if you guys have questions, and you should have him definitely about, bless you.
Thanks.
Should have him definitely on for for people wanting to actually get into video work, because he's definitely been killing it. Mikey Beasley, Mikey B Beats. I don't know if you know him or not, but you guys should kind of touch base. It's definitely
follow him. Yeah, man. Like
dope.
DM me like his page.
Yeah, I'll get you all his stuff for sure. Definitely somebody, and he's super he's like me, super. I don't say super humble because I'm not really that humble, but he's definitely a great resource. And he's a little more humble than me. He's a great resource he's a phenomenal producer. He's got placements, he's got stuff, but he's getting really heavy into the video work, which is really paying off for him really well. I'm happy to see that.
Nice. That's super dope. So Caper said diversify the content on the social media platforms.
Definitely. Yeah. Don't be a one-trick pony. I mean, depending on what your content is, period. I mean, don't go outside of the box completely and be like a weirdo random, like start doing stuff that doesn't necessarily appease your audience. Like if you're doing beat production, get into mixing, get into the arrangement. Whatever it is your strong points in your content is, by diversifying, I don't mean like start doing cooking shows. But if you're a producer, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, hey, I'm sure if like one day you just busted out
like some top 10 tips, and then from that one thing, he creates the blog post, he creates the Instagram and Facebook content, he creates the YouTube video, he creates like all of these pieces of content. But of course, he sends it out to his team to chop it up. But he makes each piece of the content native to each platform. So like what's
what's one thing? I'm sorry. What's one thing that all that content has in common? Funnels.
Yeah.
It's all about funnels.
It's all about funnels. Yep. And like what he does, what he's known for.
Yeah. It's always that one thing that's the main base. The hub and spoke. And I love that concept where it's like, you have the main hub and you have spokes coming off of it.
Yep.
So it could be, he's talking about the funnels, but then he could talk about, how to get people in them. Like there's just so many different ways that he kind of attacks that funnel idea.
Yeah.
Where, it's very relevant to everything else that he talks about. It's not, it's not left field stuff where it's not complete. Like he doesn't talk about funnels in one thing, and then he starts talking about Shopify, like stores.
Yeah.
It's always waiting for him to talk about selling whatever on Amazon. You know what I mean? Like they may be interested in it, but it's not what they're coming to him for, because he's known for funnels. Right. So whatever you think you're known for, attack that ecosystem, that niche, like attack that, and then bridge like different topics. There's plenty of topics about everything. If you talk about beats, you could talk about production, you could talk about mixing, you could talk about marketing, you could talk about advertising, you could talk about the record labels and contracts and different like software you're using, and there's so many different things. Like just like be the expert in your ecosystem and position yourself as a wealth of knowledge. Be the go-to guy. Like people will go to you for information. Be that guy. Like, and that's what you are. And I go to you for, I've had placements, but I am nowhere near, where you're at and the way that you're actually consistently. My placements come from my placement deal.
Okay.
Like they handle that, and I just give them music. Yeah. You actually have people going out there and getting work themselves without needing a pub deal, without needing, any kind of like a middleman to like, I screwed up and I signed the deal. And I'm not going to necessarily talk about how happy and not happy I am with it, but you teach a lot of people a lot of things, and I'm really appreciated for, to hear the way you explain things and the way that you actually put people onto the game. You know what I mean? Where it makes you stand out. Like I don't even go. Why would I go to anybody else when I have you for the information?
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. Yeah, like I said, I try and be the go-to guy for TV placements. Anytime somebody thinks of TV placements, I just want to be that person to be a resource. So, yeah, I think Capers asked.
Everybody has. Go ahead.
What was it? Oh, they was trying to wonder where Adam Ivy. If you just go to YouTube, search Adam Ivy.
You'll find like 398,000 videos that he made.
He's on there, and then Instagram.
Take his course
at Adam Ivy.
Take his course. He's got a masterclass course, Sell Music Masterclass. I think volume 2 now. I think he's at. Yeah. Pay the money, get in that group, learn the lessons, talk to all the people. Like he's got, I don't know, like 600 plus students now, I think, with this new class.
Yeah.
Like it's definitely, all these gurus and all these like marketing experts like Grant Cardone, like I listened to something he was talking about. He said he had like 1 billion in debt. Like, why you teach anybody anything about like being successful when you have that much debt? Like that is what not to do. Like maybe he's like a person you learn from about what not to do with your life, you know. But these guys are selling courses left and right. Like, do what I did, dude. You got 1 billion in debt. I don't want to do what you did. You know what I mean? But people like Adam Ivy, he's like, he's one of those dudes that could show you progression and show you his actual achievement. And, like that's the kind of, I love people like him because it's the money is secondary, and always keep money secondary. Always keep that, always keep it more than just about money. That's the way I feel like successful people really are. Is money is like a byproduct that they get for being excellent. You know what I mean?
I was just about to say that it's a reflection of how many people you've helped.
They just need numbers to see something, but don't let numbers be like the main reason. Like I hate when people are bragging about how many likes they have on a post or how many like engagements they have. Like who gives a crap? Like that's not, people just, give you kind of an example on that. So Mike Epps, right? He's got 6.7 million followers or something on his Facebook page, which is hard to do because people don't really care about Facebook in that particular aspect anymore with the following and all that stuff. So when we were running advertising to that audience, I was thinking like, man, this was like a sure thing. These people are following him on Instagram. If I'm sending an audience that follows Mike Epps on Instagram in a specific geographic location, maybe put some other kind of restrictions on it, whatever, I should be like hitting it at the park, right? Making sales like crazy. Nope. It was my worst performing audience. Wow. Why? Because people go to your Facebook page for free content. And so if they like you enough, they will still continue to go to your page and you will get the engagement but whether or not they buy is something completely different. And so, even though I say use your Facebook and stuff more, don't make the assumptions that just because somebody's a follower that they're going to be a buyer.
It's a fact.
There's a lot of steps between I followed your Facebook page to I'm ready to purchase your product or service.
Yeah.
And that funnel, it's almost like, I don't want to say that the Facebook page and liking it is top of the funnel, but it almost is. Mm-hmm. It's almost like, think of a funnel where the top of the funnel is the big open space where you imagine like screens in between each phase, and the screen gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and eventually people keep falling through. And only the people at the bottom of the funnel stayed entire way through and went through your landing pages and liked your content and signed up for your forums and got your emails and watched your videos. And at the bottom of the funnel, where it's a small cone, then you could, give them a sale offer. Like then you could say, buy my product or whatever. Yeah. Doing it all the way at the top, it's like, you better fish with dynamite. You better have a dynamite offer where people can't refuse. Otherwise, you're just going to be getting a bunch of no's.
Yeah.
And that's what gets people to fall out of the whole entire business, because they started offering early and started getting refusals early, and it turned them off and it killed their excitement. And they weren't ready for the no's,
right?
So by the time that they got all these no's, they still have a dynamite product. They just didn't hit the right audience with it, and they might have done it way too early in their process. And people were like, "I'm not ready for your offer yet. I don't know enough about you. I don't have the engagement, and I don't have the time dedicated to your brand to feel comfortable to give you my money."
Yeah.
People won't give you their money. I don't care what it is. $7. They'll be like, nope.
It'd be $1, bro. Like they don't.
Be $1. 99-cent download. They'd be like, what? No. Always like, people hate me. Nobody likes me. I have to prove everything to everybody every time. And that's the mind state I go into my creation when I create my funnels, when I create my advertising. I feel like I have to swim upstream 99.9% of the time, and not like, oh, this is gonna kill with these people. Like this is it. This is the sure thing. I always think it's
every time I thought that it never worked. Like it'd be the ones where I'm just like, I'll just throw this out there, it's garbage, and then that would be the one that does great. It's crazy.
My placements were all beats that I just sent in for the guy to listen to them, not even ready to, like, I didn't even mix them.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, oh, I already got that place for you. What?
Wow.
And I'm like, why did you do that? And he's like, because that was perfect. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah, I played it to the music supervisors, and they loved it. They needed it in the background. They didn't even need it mixed because it was playing out of some little speaker on a shelf in a mechanic shop in the video or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's like, you shouldn't have even mixed it, because if you did, they wouldn't have wanted it. And I'm like, okay, I give up. I quit. Like,
yeah.
It's like, it's
that's why
so weird. But
I tell people all the time, like, because a lot of people they want to wait till everything is perfect and lined up. But it's like, yo, just put it out there and then see what happens.
Nobody's gonna take your spot while you're waiting.
Yeah,
nobody's waiting for you, unfortunately. Yeah. Like, I hate how, like, cutthroat, like, and how cold-hearted you have to be about this stuff. Like, I'm such a caring, warm person that like saying these things, like, I feel kind of like this negative energy, like, but it's the truth. It's like, it's that right there that makes people successful, when they get to separate themselves and how they feel about certain things in the music business or whatever. They get to, like, separate, like, these are the parameters, the boundaries I got to work in, and nothing I could do or say is going to change that. And nothing that I feel is like, oh, you should definitely listen to my music because I think it's hot. Nobody cares. You have to work within the parameters. And it's like, the more cold-hearted you could be about all of it, is the better off you're going to be, and less disappointment. Like, prepare for disappointment and expect success, like, but always be prepared for the disappointment, because it's coming, and it sucks. But
just giving us the game, man. On
I got about 15, 30 minutes I could donate to Q&A. I'd really want to answer questions.
Yeah.
It's with this whole industry, that the thing that really engages me and that really gets me kind of like, I've learned over time that your competition isn't as heavy as you think it is. Like, people say, oh, so much competition in the music industry. Sure. But it's almost like, it's like an apartment building, you know what I mean? Like, the lower floors are going to be kind of like, more busier because they're easier to get to. So you're going to have more competition at the entry level, right? But then the higher you get, the more knowledge you stack and the more information you have available to you, the less competition there is. Like, once you get your foot in the door, it's like the same dude. Like, I'm sure you probably seen the same dudes getting the same opportunities over and over again, because they've reached that level where there's not that much competition. I'm sure everybody's on the ground floor fighting to get in.
Yep.
But you got to figure out how to get your foot in that door and how to get through that first few levels. And then people give up, and they give up very quickly. Bro. It's like, I'm going to try this. Oh, it didn't work. Bye. And they just, you're like, why are you quitting? Like, what? You're not going to try harder? Like, nah, it's not for me. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
This isn't for a lot of people, but a lot of people keep trying. But God bless them, man. I wish everybody nothing but success.
The competition trails off, man. At a lot of it at that first level, because most people will not do the work required. Most people won't stay consistent in submitting to music libraries, music supervisors, artists, record labels. They just fall. Most people won't stay consistent in uploading a YouTube video, posting a piece of content on Instagram, on Facebook. So,
I mean, quick story about my first ever placement. My first ever placement I got was from ESPN, which was like, all right, but it was almost like a gimme, because of one of my good friends. ESPN's here in Connecticut where I live. Okay. And one of my really good friends, Taylor DeWitt, shout out to my boy Tay Schmuck. He called me up. He was, I don't know if he was a music supervisor at ESPN, but he was like working in the music department. I forgot exactly what his role was, but he calls me up. I'm in the studio, my homie Blake Jordan, another fire producer. And we're just working on whatever, making beats, whatever. He calls me up and he's like, yo, man, I got this opportunity. ESPN's looking for some local producers or local producers, and they're looking for somebody to remix the Sports Center, the theme song or whatever it is. All it was, I think at the time, was just like, nah. So they sent us the entire like clip, and we chopped it up and we turned it into like this fire beat, whatever. And we sent it back within 3 hours.
Wow.
He calls me back and he's like, you're it. And I said, really? That was quick. He was like, yeah, there wasn't any submissions like besides you. And I was like, okay. I'm like, did you just reach out to me? And he's like, no, we got like 6 or 7 different producer teams that didn't submit anything. Like we told them, we was like, like you should turn it in today. Like you should work on this now and turn it in today, and we'll consider you, whatever. So me and Blake turned it right over. We were in the studio. Luckily, I don't know if otherwise it would have worked out, but
right.
And it wasn't like a paid opportunity. It was more like a credit. You get credit and you get on TV or whatever.
Yeah.
He calls me up, so I submitted it. It came. Like it came to them or whatever. They heard it or whatever. And again, I'm like just happy. Oh, we're like, we just got this product. I mean, with this project or whatever, we submitted it. Cool. We're going to be what we were doing back then. It was nice.
Yeah.
And we were able to like submit the song, get credit. They made like a Sunday night reel, like of the hottest plays. I've never seen it. And because I've been bugging them to send me the reel, but I've never caught it. I'm not like an avid ESPN watcher or whatever, but it was on it. Other people called me like, yo, I just like your name or whatever was mentioned. I was like, wow. And it really all came down to the fact that like we were so quick to pivot and maneuver and get it in, and other people didn't even turn. And this is like not just that day. They never turned anything in. We were the only team out of like 6 different producer teams that, that turned anything over. And again, it wasn't like a contest. Nobody was like, they didn't promise me money up front. It was like, just turn it in. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
What happened was I got a check. And I was just on it. They're like, to her, what happened? She's like, wow, that's great, whatever. But it was to the point where I remember the lesson from that. And it came out hot. We did a good job on it, but we weren't perfectionists. It wasn't mixed well. It wasn't like, it was just like, here you go.
Yeah.
They must have did whatever they did in their studio, whatever. Made it to television. They made like a reel with it. They sent me a contract. I got that thing framed somewhere still to this day. It's my first ever contract for placement. And a lesson I learned was like, an opportunity comes, you better jump on it and you better do it before everybody else.
Yeah.
Because, they don't have time for you to sit here and try to make yourself look absolutely presentable. It's like, just get going and get it done.
Yeah.
And it was probably the most like impactful placement I've ever had. And I've gotten paid more for other placements, but that was the most impactful and the most lesson learning like opportunity I've ever had. And I'm first.
NFL.
I'm talking about what the first placement that you get to actually like hold up and brag to people.
Like album.
Right.
You did that.
Yep. I remember you telling me about that. Yeah.
That was dope. Going into the bank with a big 5-figure check from Sony. Good feeling, man. Like, and I had to
many people heard that. People's grandmothers and stuff heard it. Like, it wasn't just like cats our age. It was people's like kids, it's
Christmas
families, music. Old folks. Exactly.
Make sure it was legit. Then it took like a whole nother week for them to actually clear it. But yeah, man, it's just good to tell the people in the world being able to enjoy something that you're passionate about. So that was like the first major one, and then TV and film stuff, the NFL Network, Fox Sports. Those felt good because I knew about the NFL Network, but then I didn't know they picked that same track up and used it on Fox Sports until I got like a royalty check. So we were at dinner with it was me, my wife, and the in-laws. And then I had seen, I was like checking my BMI or something like producers do habitually, so trying to see if the royalty check deposit or whatever. And then I found out, and then I looked at my wife, was like, yo, we paying for dinner tonight. So that was exciting too.
And the in-laws was like, she made a good this, like, what was the funniest, you would say the funniest placement? Like I remember when I got not I want to say funniest, like it's funny, but like one of the shows that I've gotten placed on was Acapulco Shore. It was like a European knockoff or spinoff of Jersey Shore.
Wow.
And I got placement on Martha and Snoop Dogg a few times. They use my
Okay.
music a lot, quite a
Yeah.
bit. I got Martha and Snoop Dogg. That was like I like bragging about that one just because it's Martha and Snoop Dogg. Like
Right.
just like it's and I've gotten placements on like Bad Girls Club. And I remember one of my like friends from childhood. I remember like I've learned to hate reconnecting from people from my past because they know you for who you used to be, and then you become somebody, like you grow up and you become somebody different, and they don't expect it. And I remember he was trying to clown me about getting the placement on Bad Girls Club. Like he was like, don't tell nobody about it because it seemed like that's not like a man type show, or you shouldn't feel proud of it. Like just like, and I'm sitting ESPN, like truck lifting, whatever, you know what I mean? It's not like a man. And I was laughing at it going like, bro, I got to check for that. Like, and it wasn't even that like, that was like I think that was the beat that was the pull checks. And I was like, bro, I made that beat like sitting in my house in my sweatpants, like, and I submitted it, and it ended up becoming like a multi-check situation for me. And for me to sit here and worry about that, it's not like, it's not like some hit show on NBC or whatever, that it's like some MTV show about crazy women. Like I was like, I don't get the roast here. Like, I don't get why you're trying to roast me for.
You did something you love doing, a show that can open up more doors in your career. Like there's no losing in that. Yeah.
But also another thing too is like I remember when I was talking to my homie George that actually connected me to this whole, that put me to the whole placement game. George Cloman, he was in like a really, really great group called Northern League. He's got a ton of placements, like, I don't know, in the thousands. So he's like my big homie, my big brother. Much love to George Cloman. I'm forever grateful. But one thing I learned from him was like, don't sleep on children's music. Don't sleep on Christmas music, and don't sleep on stuff that's got really wide appeal that touches like grandmothers and that people would like a cookout would listen to, you know what I mean? So I've always had this, like, the stuff that I've always tried to make music that is wide ranging, and it's not just like the cats in the street. Like, I'm a 90s hip hop New York dude. Like, I love Biggie, Nas, but at the same time, if I kept making music that way, I would probably never see a placement, because it's hard to place that sort of music. It's not really like well fitting to what's going on in the media these days. You know what I mean? But if you do anything with like children's music, and this is like an advice to everybody listening that is a producer, dude, don't sit here and think that you have to make trap beats because that's what people want. Like, there is a whole other world that if you score a kid's show, or like a book, or like you score an audio book, you're gonna get so many royalties from that book, because every mother, like, imagine what the person who wrote Baby Shark is getting.
Bruh, they're on the beach somewhere.
Never have to work. Like, the guy that did the 4-day made a royalty. I think they paid him a quarter or something every time it played. Some ridiculous small number.
Yeah.
But even at a quarter, at 20 billion, you don't ever have to. He has like his own production. Like, I think the guy that made the Intel has like a production. Like, he has like a studio big as like, what's his name? Tyler Perry.
Yeah.
Like, he's got like a big sound stage, and he creates like the stuff they were doing for Intel. I watched some video about the Intel Ding commercial and its progression.
Yeah.
You should see it, dude. It's phenomenal. They had like this whole setup where they were using like these big giant bells swinging through air, and it was like they went so overboard on it. It was so nuts. But to think that he went dun 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 dun, and that made him millions of dollars. And salute to that man, because that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
It is
so crazy.
This is another thing that I noticed. I was a voting member of the Grammy Academy, the Recording Academy. So when we get the ballots, like in the early stages of the voting process, right? When you go through all the genres, when you get to like the children's music section and like some of the instrumental album categories, there's hardly any competition. There's like 2 people like you can vote for. So it's like What genre did you get the Grammy? It's no, this is a Grammy award winning producer. That's all
And
you
even
care
if they
about.
and even if they do, you still have a Grammy. They don't have Grammys. It's not like a different Grammy. It's the
It's
Grammy.
the Grammys. So
Right.
yeah, that's another thing I noticed. I was just like, yo, like I think a lot of people like honestly, I'm gonna end the live now and start producing some children's music because
Dude, I am telling you, it is such
it's
it's like
crazy.
it's the same thing when I talk about like hunting versus fishing. It's like if you know, let's say you do go hunting and you choose to go that route. It's like going hunting in the most target rich environment that you possibly without a single hunter there to challenge you and to take up any of your hunt. Like
Yeah,
it's almost like I realize that we want to produce music that makes us, into a metro or into a south side, into any of these dudes. My day was like Timberland, Dre,
because it looks
but
cool.
it looks cool. But I guarantee you that Dre and Timberland, while they were creating like all their hot stuff, were doing things behind the scenes that they weren't publicizing that was bringing them. Like, who would think that Dre would own a headphone company or co-own a headphone company? You know what I mean?
Yep.
But it's all those behind the scene moves that like aren't publicized until they're so big you can't ignore them.
Right.
That, a lot of people just want to just squeeze through one doorway, and that doorway has always got hordes of other producers or whatever trying to squeeze through it. And it's like, dude, take a step back, let them filter themselves out and go do this other thing.
Yep.
And the other thing is guaranteed money because it's not shiny and glittery, but they have a check behind it. And it just needs to be done. You just got to know where to look. And that's the relationship building, the network building that, I used to do stuff for, it was called Cover Guru, and it was this dude, Niels Gums. He was basically taking songs and having producers remake them and then create karaoke music. So like the original one, can't remember the name, but I redid that beat and submitted it, and I have stupid royalty checks for that one because people were using it. They were using
nice
write that
lane.
down. Write that down. They were basically using it for like they were downloaded to karaoke machines and used at karaoke's all over the place. I don't know world. They didn't tell me where it was used, but
yeah,
I still get checks from that. Like it's
crazy. You gotta think outside the box, man. Like the music is everywhere. You gotta figure out how to get on the TV, the other side of that stuff.
TV shows, video games. There's even stuff you could do for phone systems.
Yep.
Like you would get paid for phone system usage, like sort of like the way that Pandora like charges businesses to have, like you can't use Pandora on like a regular, free whatever. You have to pay them. She has to pay $100, $150 a month to be able to do that. And that goes towards that. So,
yeah.
Anyway, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you got kids and everything. So whenever you're ready to wrap it up.
No doubt, man. Hey, I appreciate they can find you, man. If they want more information, if they want a consultation or whatever, man, just let them know where to find you.
Basically, if you just put in EQ Productions, ECUE Productions into Google, you'll find all my links and everything there that I've done. I'm on EQ Productions on Instagram, Facebook, EQ Beats, or EQ Productions, my website. I do consultations for, anything marketing, advertising. We could sit down and chop it up about your strategy. We could kind of streamline some of the things that you're doing. I do charge, and I'm not going to discuss fees or whatever here, but hit me up. I'll do sliding scale with people if they're just starting out or whatever, but this isn't really necessarily something I do with everybody. And I'm pretty specific and, about who I work with, because I want to make sure that the people are actually going to be taking it and using it. And that it's not just going to be like, just a kill an hour or two to just BS, you know what I mean? But
right.
I'm available for anybody who's serious and needs help with their marketing, advertising. Definitely hit me up. But it's been an absolute pleasure. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Indeed, man. All right, man. Well, enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll be in touch. And shout out to everybody that tuned in. Make sure you smash that like button, like, share, subscribe. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
Peace.